Owned by urban explorers. Abandoned hospital. In 1997, the East Fortune Hospital closed its doors and never opened them again. This very old and now condemned psychiatric hospital can be found near the Scottish city of Edinburgh. And even though the entrance to the abandoned building is boarded up and entry is completely forbidden, that hasn't stopped urban explorers from poking around. Just recently, footage showed up online of an urban explorer known as Tina taking a walk inside. She documented her trip through the haunting ruins of what had once been a treatment center for those suffering from tuberculosis. The building has been around for 100 years. The last quarter of its life may have been spent empty, but the first 75 years were filled with pain and misery. It was originally used to treat tuberculosis, only to change in the 1950s and become a psychiatric hospital. It went from the diseased and the demised to those suffering from horrible mental afflictions. The Lost Police Station. Urban explorers in Scotland recently gave the world a rare glimpse into an abandoned Glasgow police station located on Argyle Street. It originally opened back in 1960. The Cranston Hill Police Station has been empty for about the last 10 years. Real estate developers West Point Homes is currently trying to demolish the site and build 84 apartments, but it hasn't happened yet, and so this could be the last look anyone has at the police station before it's completely destroyed. It is a rather creepy place. The urban explorers documented their journey through depressing cells where offenders had once been locked up. The front desk of the police station has a sign that reads, "Even the cops can't keep us out." Everything in general looks pretty depressing. Pet cemetery. Urban explorer Daniel Sims came across an old, damaged, and seriously derelict mansion hidden away in a small English village. It was a pretty straightforward abandoned property covered in graffiti, filled with bottles and cans from partying teenagers and evidence of a fire inside the house. But what made it unique and even creepier than normal is that Daniel came across a mysterious pet cemetery. He originally found the house while looking at online maps. It was tucked away in such a random corner of the village that it would have been impossible to find by just wandering around. But what Daniel hadn't expected was that the house was actually an old and abandoned assisted living home. The creepiest part was, when he discovered the remains of a graveyard in the back of the house, he thought he was standing on the bones of people who had been buried by the staff at the home. The shopping complex on Queen Street. The shopping complex on Queen Street at Campbelltown, a popular shopping area in the Australian city of Sydney. There is an abandoned build. It's a shopping centre that's been left for deceased unused for over a decade and is currently in a serious state of disrepair. The shopping complex was once called Brands on Sale. After 10 years of being raided by party-going teenagers and visited by urban explorers and YouTubers, it just gets more and more destroyed. The escalators have been ripped apart. There are holes in the walls where people have thrown things through them, shattered glass all over the place, and no security to keep anyone out. These shopping complexes' 4 stories have nothing but garbage. The structural integrity of the building seems totally fine, which makes it even stranger that nobody has turned the property into something productive. The center originally cost $65 million to open in December 2009, only to go out of business about a year later. A mummy. A Spanish urban explorer crept into an abandoned building in the city of Elegant and came across the last thing he had expected to find. It was about 10:30 p.m. He had just arrived inside the abandoned building, and before he could really poke around the place, he found a mummified corpse. This wasn't a fake mummy, but a very real preserved human body. The explorer was so startled that he immediately called the Spanish National Police. When they got there, he showed them the exact location of the body. By the corpse was a backpack which held the man's ID. He was identified as Julian Ortega, 56 years old, when he disappeared in July 2019. Julian's body have slowly decayed in that empty place with nobody ever finding it. As of right now, we don't know if he was executed, if he had been an urban explorer himself, or maybe suffered a cardiac arrest, or what. It's all still under police investigation.